I'm Karima Brown. It's Sunday and it's time for The Fix. Welcome to this edition of The Fix, where every Sunday we hold those in power to account. We tell you what matters, how it affects you, and why you should care. While President Cyril Ramaphosa has extended the COVID-19 distress relief grant, thousands of recipients have either not received it or have only received one payment, with many complaining that they cannot even access the system. And even then, they do not always get the proper pay dates. This has caused untold hardship on those who only have this grant to mitigate devastating consequences of the economic crisis. Joining me to explain what the government plans to do about the system that is clearly not working is the Minister for Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu. Minister, good afternoon. Welcome to The Fix. Thank you so much for joining us. Many people will not argue with the fact that the grant has progressively been working for the poor, but the problem is that individuals, while eligible for the grant, are not necessarily receiving it. And of course, there is also the question that about 4.3 million people have successfully received the grant, whilst another 4.3 million were estimating to have still been waiting for that application. And that's according to a survey that was done, of course, by the National Income Dynamics study by Harun Borat. Minister, what exactly is the problem with the system? Why are people on the system and still not receiving the grant?
Let me put this very straight and fact straight. It is not true that the system is not working. It is true that in the process of the system, some people fall out of the system, firstly due to the fact that many of them do not put the correct information for themselves, and many, by the way, which I also discovered yesterday when I was doing door-to-door in Clarence in town, was that many people use somebody else's cell phone. They don't use their own. And secondly, some do not even put the proper ID number and all. But I'm not putting the blame on the people, because when all is said and done, we have to make sure that our system reaches everyone. So when you say the system has not worked, I would then ask the question, the 4.3 million people that have already received and received for almost every month, and then the 4.3 that you are talking about, we don't have any 4.3 people on our database who have not received their grants. We've got those that have appealed because they fall into other categories, and some of them have received money from other grants. So totally, we have been able to pay that 4.5, actually, not even 4.3, and we have a system in place that we are trying to catch the ones that we have not been able to pay, get the reasons why they've not been paid. Let me also explain clearly that the payments have to go either through the banks or through the post office. And so many of the people who have had to go through the banks had a problem where the banks were saying to us, the cell phone number and the ID number does not correlate and does not connect to each other. This is the biggest problem that we are having. The system is working, and the system needs to be improved even more so that we don't have people who are still complaining. We said it earlier on. Everyone who applies.
Minister, just let me come in here. You're saying that the system isn't the problem. The system is working. Let me give you some of the experiences that some of the people who are recipients of the grants have been writing to me about. I'm going to read a SMS that I got from Mr. A.D. Bartman. He says, "Dear Ms. Brown, I'm one of the millions of recipients. I applied in April for the grant. On the 24th of July, I received 350 for May, even though I was approved for May, June and July at the time. They told me that the post office, that if I received a pay date for June, then they will give me 700 for June and July, which never happened. Till this day, I have not received any payments further. And then he says that he has also helped a whole range of other people that have sometimes received and sometimes not. And the big issue is that they say that they are on the systems, but when they go to the post office, they don't get pay dates. So can you explain to me, Minister, why do people, why do they qualify as eligible, but when it comes to pay dates, they don't get pay dates?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, that if you look at the number of those that have been paid, it's quite a big number. And then those who have not been paid, I'm still saying it's unfortunate that they were not paid because of the fact that sometimes they go to the post office and the post office says it does not have the money. This is what we are dealing with right now, to say those that have not been paid, they need to be paid their money in bulk as it was agreed that they have to be paid. In fact, when I got this SMS or the information about Batman, believe me, the first thing I asked the department and SASSA and them was to say, have you bothered to go and find out the name and the number of Mr. Batman so that we can be able to call him directly, so that we can investigate his case directly? And I'm here sitting here, I'm telling you, I have been receiving calls from people. I've been requesting them to send me WhatsApp messages, and I've been forwarding those WhatsApp messages to SASSA and making sure that people are paid.
So,
yes,
so Minister,
when I say this,
let's come back to the question that you're saying the post office doesn't pay. What is the problem with issuing pay dates in the case of Mr. Bartman? Why is he registered on the system? Why doesn't he get a pay date? Whose responsibility is it to issue the pay date, Minister?
The pay date is supposed to be issued by SASSA. Every communication is supposed to be done by SASSA. So those people who did not get their money, they have to then ask SASSA. SASSA has to be the one that explains. And as I'm saying to you, when I saw that SMS, the first thing I did was to go to SASSA and say, SASSA, do you have the details of Mr. Batman?
And what did SASSA say? What did SASSA say, Minister? What was the answer that they gave you about Mr. Bartman?
Pardon?
What did SASSA say when you requested them to give you the information of Mr. Bartman? What did they say to you? Did they find him in the system, and could they give you an explanation for why he didn't get a pay date?
They haven't given me the answer because I only asked them this morning. And let me tell you the reason why I had to ask them this morning, particularly on Mr. Bartman, was because I was saying to SASSA, we need to have a complete and clear number of people who have paid, people who have not paid, and why we haven't paid them, and tell me when are these people going to be paid. This is my responsibility. My responsibility is to do oversight. My responsibility is to say to SASSA, your system must work. So when SASSA comes to me and say, yes, Minister, our system is working, this is the number of people we've paid, this is the number of people who have not been paid, I'm not satisfied with that this is the number of people that have not been paid. They will tell you, I am on them, because I am also the one that has to respond. I'm also the one that gets the SMSs. My telephone number is everywhere in the country, and I don't have a problem with that because I believe it's my responsibility.
Okay, so Minister, let's get to a timeline, because these people have been promised monies. The President has indicated that it will be rolled out for a further 3 months. But there's confusion, Minister, because in an interview that was given by SASSA, the Social Security Agency says that they're not currently taking new applications for the 350 COVID relief grant. This is according to the SASSA spokesperson. spokesperson, Paseka Letslasi, who said the agency is waiting on directives from you, Lindiwe Zulu, as the minister. And this she said on an interview on a Cape Talk. And to quote her, she says, the long and short of it is that we're not taking new applications. This is not because we do not want to take new applications. We just have to get the directive from the minister in terms of the process and methods. Now, what I want to understand, Minister, is how do you measure whether those who are eligible, that the system has recognized, we're not even coming to the ones that the system has chucked out, we're just talking about those who were told they are eligible, they can get the monies, but some have only gotten 1 or 2 payments and still don't have further pay dates. Now, if they are supposed to query that, what do they have to do? Because you are saying you can't apply again for a new grant if the spokesperson of SASSA is to be taken at their word. You must remember, for an ordinary person, this is extremely confusing. What must these people do who haven't gotten all their monies? And more importantly, how do they register the fact that you are not paying them, given the fact that they are on the system?
Yes, those people who have not been paid, I am making that promise again, as I've repeatedly said it over and over again. People who qualified and gave us the correct information as far as their banking details, or those that we asked that the post office open bank accounts for them, those people have to be paid. That is why we said when it comes to the end in October, what we want to have from SASSA is a close-out report that says, in the 6 months, these are the people that we have paid, these are the people that we haven't paid, these are the people that still have to be paid. My responsibility is to make sure that SASSA pays those people. And I'm making this promise here that those people have to be paid. They will not get off the system. And also the issue of the extension of the 350. Yes, once the president has made the announcement of the extension, we do need to change the directives, because the directives were only ending up in October, and that's already been done. So when the SASSA spokesperson or CEO was saying that they are waiting for the directive, it is correct and it is true, and they do need to get the directives, because they can't just implement without the directives. Now that we have done that, the people need to then continue the application. We did not close the applications, and the spokesperson was correct when he was speaking so, because they also need to look at their budget. Remember that it's not about there's just money that's sitting there and it's everywhere. Yes, the president will agree that the extension needs to be done, but then we have to responsibly go to Treasury, and it is a process for Treasury to even process
Minister,
the rest of the budget that needs to go.
Minister, let me give you another practical example of a person. This is Ntabiseng Daisy. This is her story. She says, hi, Karima Brown. My brother applied for a grant, for the 350 grant in May. They declined him because they say the source of income, and June, July and August say that the UIF registered him, but the Labour Department say he's not on their system, and he sent a lot of appeals to SASSA, and they still haven't responded to his number. And then she adds her number. Then she writes another SMS to me, and she says, my cousin also applied, and he was only paid for May, and all the other months are approved without a pay date. That's June, July, August, September and October, all approved without pay dates. And people are every month telling him that they are going to pay on the 24th. And then she says, please, please help me. Now, Minister, you opened this program saying very confidently, the system isn't the problem. How can you confidently say that when I've just read Ntabiseng Daisy's experience of her brother and her cousin out? Can you still say that this system is working?
Yes, I'm still going to say the system is working.
Is it working for Daisy's? Is it working for Daisy's brother?
Allow me to speak. Allow me to speak. The system is working. Because if the system wasn't working, it wouldn't have paid 4.5 million people. Every system that works, it will have its faults here and there, but in the majority, it is working. the people who have not been paid, but like the ones that you are giving me now, let me tell you, Karima, my life has been very difficult right now because I've been having to responding to people who send me their SMSs, who send me their WhatsApps, and I'm prepared to do that because it's my job. So even Batman and the other person that you are talking about, it's my job. I have to get the details of those people. I've got to go to SASSA and say, SASSA, give me a reason why these people have not been paid. And I've been doing this for the past 6 months.
Okay, Minister, now I've given you an opportunity to speak. Let me ask you a question. I had the Minister of Labour and Employment, Tulas Ngesi, on this show when he sacked the entire management of the UIF fund for the corruption that was going on there. Now, your system is tied to that process because if people lost their jobs, they will obviously be registered on that system. And do you think that what happened at the UIF office is perhaps impacting on the extent to which you are able to see who is a proper, legitimate recipient and who qualifies and who doesn't? Because clearly these systems are not talking to each other. Let me give you another example, Minister, of a grandmom who wrote in. She said, "Hi, Karima, my grandson applied for the 350 grant in May. He was paid in June and not a cent thereafter. I cannot even begin to recount the frustration of that first 350 and what we had to go through to get it. Don't even talk about the taxi fares that we wasted." So after the waiting and waiting for another SMS, I went to the post office, there's no money. I decided to go to SASSA, who gives me contact details. I contacted the email supplied. They then informed me that according to their records, this person is employed. In fact, this person has been unemployed since June 2019. They say he should appeal the findings. I've sent an email. Up until today, no one has responded. I then contacted them again. I'm told I must wait. There's lots of people waiting. Then the president announced that the grant will be extended. I emailed the president. I get an email with the president's hotline. The person on the other end says they don't deal with this. Who deals with this? My grandson is not the only one in this situation. This is Marion Phillips from Mandalay, and she's attached the ID number of her grandson. Minister, I'm going to say to you that you cannot sit here confidently and claim that the system works when these people are not able to get their grants. One doesn't measure a system by who it's supposed to help. We measure the system by whom it's supposed to help, and it's not getting to. According to the survey done by Mr. Borat, it is the estimate from the National Income Dynamic Survey. It's the Coronavirus Rapid Mobile Survey, which indicate that the COVID-19 grant reached 4.3 million people as of the time of the survey. This accounts for 12% of South Africa's adult population, 11% of the labour force, and nearly 1 in every 4 of the searching unemployed. But it has not reached everybody. In fact, this survey says that over the estimated 6.5 million eligible non-recipients in June, nearly half live in the poorest third of the households. And then it says the survey finds that 28% of those who are eligible but haven't received the grants live in the richest circle of households. Now, Minister, clearly those are system problems.
Karima, let's agree. I am the one that came here on media, not only just today, to indicate the fact that from the very beginning, when we started this process, we needed to find a quick system that was going to be able to reach these people. We needed to also say, we've got other social grants that have been increased. You can see that with the other social grants that we have increased, whether it's the child grants or whether it's the elderly, we did not have a problem. We did not have a long-term problem. We only had a problem in the first month. After that, we never had a problem. Everybody in that has received their money. The challenge with this one was the fact that it was not only about you putting me or SASSA putting a system in place. We also had to make sure that the data the information, as you rightfully say, it means our data in South Africa still has a challenge where it's not talking to each other. I've said this before, that yes, the systems are not talking to each other. This is what we need to correct, because part of the challenges we have here of the ones we are reading who did not get their money, it is because in the system, they were found to be either in NSFAS or in labor or somewhere. This is what we need to correct. And in order for us to correct that, you need to make sure that the back of the information and the front of the information is proper. And let me also say to you, while we are paying all this money, we have a responsibility. As the Auditor General said to us, we are not going to be paying people who are not supposed to be paid. So in the process of trying to do all that and ensuring that we are accountable and ensuring that we are paying the right people, we will then come across these challenges of a few of the people who have not been paid. And I say again, those people who have not been paid, it's my responsibility. I'll go back to SASSA, as I do on a day-to-day basis, and ask them, and I've asked them for a master plan.
Okay, Minister, I accept your promise that you are going to SASSA and you're asking them to sort this out. On behalf of the people who haven't received the grants, give me a date for when you will be able to come back to the fix and say SASSA has now fixed the problem.
Anytime, just call me, I'll come back. Because I know I'm responsible, I know I work very hard, and I know that I work for the very same people that we are talking about today. The responsibility of the government of the African National Congress, represented by me in this particular case, I'm responsible. Call me next time, I'll be here.
Okay, Minister, at the next pay date, we will call you and we'll ask you to come on the program. And the cases that we've given specific attention to, we'll ask you to respond to. So thank you so much for coming on. We look forward in coming back to you. Of course, that is Minister Lindiwe Zulu promising to fix the system at SASSA. We'll have her back here in a month to see whether any progress has been made. Still ahead, should corrupt politicians receive amnesty? Don't go anywhere.